Hell yeah, welcome to the Glacially Musical podcast. It is beer, metal, and swearing. I, of course, am Nick Cameron, joined by my good friend, a man who I trust, whom I will follow, who will take me to the promised land, who is not only my king, but my pope, Keefy Charlemagne, the Holy Roman Emperor.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. How are you doing, sir?
I am doing spectacular personal news, personal news, personal news, and I know everyone is sick of hearing about this because it's been forever. But last night, we finished. We finished. The house we are selling, it will be on the market officially tomorrow. So if you have several $100,000 that you would like to buy a house for, it's not worth several $100,000, but I will accept it. Other bit of personal news. If you look behind me, we are now rocking a Glacially Musical podcast banner. I got this for $20. Wife says to me when she sees it, "Is it big enough?" And I'm like, "Shut up." So then I, come in and look at it. It's covering the back window. So now I'm not white trash anymore. I've got a curtain in the window. Wife then asks, "Can people outside see it?" No, they can't read it. It's totally fine. They can't read it. They can fucking read it. So white lie.
Amazing.
But it is the
She does
Glacially
listen
Musical
to
podcast
the
lie.
podcast. She
She
listens
does
to
not.
us.
She doesn't listen.
Oh,
She hears me enough. But anyway, so thank you very much for joining us this week. We are talking about the men, the myths, the legend, a band with a mythology. Of course, we are talking about GWAR. Later, not much later than that, shortened to GWAR. This week, we are going to discuss a brief bit of Death Piggy, which I heard for the first time today, and then we will discuss the four. I'm sorry, I never listened to Death Piggy. Sometimes, I only buy Levi's, I only buy Converse, and every now and again I get involved in that. Excuse me, especially when for a long time my vinyl budget was very low. Sorry about that. I'm still fighting some coughs. Anyway, we'll get to that. But first, here's how we do this. We greet, we beer check, we vinyl check, we news check, shirt check, meat of the episode. Of course, this is the first week of GWAR. Hello. My beer check this week is a Winta Brewing Company Detour Double IPA. It is hoppy as balls, which is how I like it. This is from Salt Lake City, Utah. It's 9.5% ABV. I am being classy and quite the English gentleman, drinking this out of my Iron Maiden Senjutsu pint glass. Finger fudge pour. And if you look closely, this is very much, it's not a Midwest brewery, but it feels Midwest.
that's fair. I am drinking a beer I have had before on the podcast. This is a Henniger lager, German lager. I just have one left over. I don't know if it's appropriate or beer does expire or become not as delicious. And this is a can that has been sitting here since I went away and came back. So I'm trying
It
to.
depends upon the beer. Yeah.
I finally figured out the secret of the pop.
So it wasn't the microphone, it was the
It was the
operator.
operator and the failure of the operator. Finger fudge pour. Let's go. Let me go rock and roll.
Oh, I can even hear the pour.
Spilling beer on my
That's a
bedroom floor.
sound. Anyway, where was I going? If you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead into my vinyl check this week. I'm just dropping one.
Go right ahead.
Friend of the show, Richie Randall, joined us to discuss movie soundtracks and his latest record by Gravehuffer. We discussed how it was sold out. It was not sold out. It was just very close. And
We
sure
skipped the cheers.
Oh, shit.
Again. Beer check, finger fudge pour, I pour, we cheers, right? I think we should cheers it up.
Cheers, my friend. Honestly, I look forward to this week and this time of the week every week. So, I have the latest Gravehuffer record. The title is Depart from So Much Evil. It is on Black Doomba Records. It is an amazing record. I'm calling it death metal. Do you know why?
Why?
Side 2 of Metal is one song. and side 2 of Depart from So Much Evil, one song. So, and I picked
I
the.
missed out on the original pressing of that, and I think I ordered one and had it shipped elsewhere, so I should be
I
checking
thought
one of
this was
those.
the original pressing. No?
That sold out in like a second. So,
Oh.
when did you get it? That's the question.
Uh, well, I mean, obviously, I'm
Right
just
when it
now
came out?
checking it. No, I'm just now checking
Then
it.
then
So,
that's the repress.
oh, fair enough. Richie was kind enough to send me a link, which is awesome because he doesn't get paid for this. Because he sent me a link to the Black Doombo website. So
I mean, he
Richie
gets
Randall,
paid.
I'm not as much as it would have been if I had bought the download.
Oh, okay.
You know what? Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about.
I'm gonna
Either way,
let's shout out Tommy Stewart, who also would be a very good chaser guest. Tommy Stewart, who runs Black Doomba Records, who has Tommy
I've
Stewart's
interviewed him in the
Direwolf,
past.
who has, you know, a legendary thrash metal band from the '80s that he's been in. So like, he'd be a good guest.
Tommy, Richie, if either one of you is listening, we would like to have Tommy on the podcast in 2 weeks. So this is the first live invite for a guest ever. Anyway, I picked out the splatter because I like the splatter. My favorite kinds of colored vinyl are the splatter or the split. And when we get to this Toilet Earth, I will show you a split. I am going to be kind this week and not whip out my copy of Hello.
I'm
Unless
shocked. You were so proud to get it.
I am very proud, unless you request it.
I mean, I figured you were gonna.
It's on the turntable.
I figured you wanted to do GWAR because you have a lot of these.
I have at least, I don't know how many we're doing. We haven't actually worked that out, which is unusual for
I
us.
think we were gonna do like 4 or 5.
I
or
think
6.
4 is a good number.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
All right, so I have 3 of the 4.
What's upsetting is because of my move and my vinyls all it's shelved, but it's disorganized, and I could not quickly find and summon my Death Piggy Record Store Day repress.
Yeah,
First time ever on vinyl.
No, was it? No,
Yeah, never been on vinyl.
no, it has.
I don't think it
Welcome
was.
to the Record it's on Discogs. I
Oh,
saw it
maybe
today
it's the 2 EPs as one thing.
Yeah, it's 2 EPs. It's the Record Store Day one was both EPs as one, and some live.
Oh yeah.
So some of it was first time.
I
on
love
vinyl.
it, and it's a shame that I don't have it handy. Maybe in a future week I'll self-reference and bring it out. But is it my turn for a vinyl check?
Hit it.
All right.
Hit it, baby.
I have another Chicago purchase. Reckless Records. This is Goblin. Zombie, the infamous zombie soundtrack from Goblin. Claudio Simonetti's Goblin is on tour right now, starting this weekend. And yeah, this is Argento filmed, Romero, Argento presented, Romero directed, and Goblin with the soundtrack. So pretty amazing. And this
Very
is
cool.
this is
Very
a
cool.
this is a new repress, I believe, on Milky White
Ooh, that's
vinyl.
it's white, almost bone.
Which is not very startling. Usually, you just would have assumed it would be like a blood red or a
White
splatter.
white vinyl is a startler always.
Yeah. And it's on a beautiful,
Always.
get this retro gold label with the zombie.
Digging that,
logo.
digging that.
And then it came in the paper, unfortunately. So
yeah, you know what?
mylar.
The bigger labels know what's up. The smaller labels don't have the cash to do it, so you got to buy them.
Possibly true.
Hopefully, you got it for less than $20.
How much was
You
that?
didn't.
I think.
Oh,
I
I
did,
forgot
actually.
to mention, I did get Gravehuffer brand new. I remember when Richie sent me the link on Facebook, and I looked at my family and I went, hey, I need $25 plus shipping right now.
Except for the one that I checked last week that was full price.
Mm-hmm.
The Reckless Records purchases were all at or under what I think is. I mean, this was like $22. I got no complaints for a soundtrack album, and I was looking in soundtracks, and there it was, because I'm still looking for my Holy Grail soundtrack stuff before we do a soundtrack chaser.
We did a soundtrack chaser.
We're gonna do another one. We talked about
balls. All right. Anyway, let's move forward
You're so
because
silly.
we've got a lot. This is the table setter, so we got a lot to talk about
All right.
before we get to the actual
News it up.
record itself.
News it up.
Just going to do a small bit of news. There is a hit piece coming out on Roger Waters called The Dark Side of Roger Waters, where they're trying to explain how terrible of a human being he is. Read about it in the Telegraph. And look, I am not going to defend Roger Waters as a human being. He is old and crotchety and twisted, but I can recognize a hit piece when I see one. And I can read between the lines, and I know when they reference A, B, C, and D, I can tell you what those meant in his mind. And it did not mean what they say it's going to mean, so I will not be watching the documentary.
I mean, he's not a good person.
No, he's
not.
not.
A good person. You can make a case that David is possibly not a good person. Actually,
he's not a good person because you know what? I'll tell you this. I was thinking about this on the way home today.
Their wife or girlfriend write lyrics on their album doesn't care about their album. I don't care.
I will say this. Polly insults Roger online, right?
Yes.
Okay. And what does David Gilmour say?
Nothing.
No, he said every word demonstrably true.
Oh,
very right. English, that's demonstrably.
Right. Demonstrably.
And here's the thing, bro. You haven't known Roger Waters in 45 years.
That is arguably true. Well, I mean, like through lawyers and through, the acrimony. I mean, they've had conversations.
Yeah,
clearly.
you might know Roger Waters' lawyers.
No, but I think
you don't know Roger.
I think it's safe to say though that they had interactions.
If he believed that Roger Waters was that when they were in a band together, you aided and abetted.
People change, but
he doesn't know.
I don't support apartheid.
I don't support apartheid either. I think there's a big part of his.
Go ahead.
There's a certain government that gets really pissed off when you point out their apartheid and their hypocrisy, and that's when they start using big words against you. That is truth. Period.
I just think like inherently, I don't think Roger is anti-Semitic. I don't think he's anti-Jewish. I don't think he's anti.
Roger is
Israelis. I think he's pro. I think you can be pro-Palestinian and pro-Palestine and pro-a-Palestine state. We shouldn't even be unpacking this. It's bad for a brand.
Thank you. That is exactly.
You brought it up, and so I have to follow.
Gene Simmons agrees with you.
I know.
He said the same thing about Roger.
I was very surprised because for a long time Gene was like Israel.
Right, and he said there should be a two-state. There should be a two-state solution, and I stand by that.
But he was not always. He was definitely counter for a long time.
The thing about Roger,
but Roger's problem is his ego and pride and the doubling down. So in his mind,
he has a third problem.
He's not only wrong. He's not only right. He's self-righteous, and that's what I find detestable.
He has a fourth problem.
Oh, all right.
I mean, if you're just going to keep throwing out problems that I'm going to agree with, I'm going to bump mine to the bottom.
Go ahead.
He is a horrific communicator.
Fair. For a guy whose literally language is his number one attribute in his life with lyrics.
But he is, I don't think he is able. And then on top of that, his fifth problem is he's a lot like John Cleese. He is from that English set, 60s, 70s. Where the idea of cancellation, political correctness, nothing should be off limits for the sake of art. Now, whether or not you agree, I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying that's wrong.
Lack of accountability, and you have to self. Yeah. I think in the interest of your career, if you have controversial views, it's just. I will tell you this: there's a very prominent, beloved band with an army of fans. They put out a new record this year. They are They are a legendary status band in their schlub genre of metal, and the front person is really a diehard conservative person to the point that most of their fans would be way bailing on the band if they knew his stances on things. So I've now narrowed it down to the band. They are in a subgenre of metal, and the front person is male. And I'm going to tell you, if that person's views became known, it would cost them dearly. Relationships, tours, fans. Now, I'm not saying this guy's horrible and unforgivable. I'm just saying his views run counter to most metal fans who tend to poll liberal for the most part. And
Well, that's
so,
because the you tend to skew liberal when the conservatives hate you.
fair enough. And so, like, he keeps it quiet. He doesn't totally let it fly. He's been told or warned or suggested by the label and management and other people in his band, hey, keep a lid on your personal shit and just talk about the music in the band and don't go too overboard on some of these topics. And I'm telling you, it's saved their career because, again, I'm convinced, myself included as a fan and a journalist, I wouldn't cover them as much. And I love this band, and I have loved this band literally the whole time I love metal. So you can almost put it together who I'm talking about. Almost. I'm just telling you. Like, you keep it to yourself. If
There's
you
an
have
M
controversial
involved.
views, I don't mean if you're a hateful, horrible person. I have no room for you. So it's not that. It's just views that run extremely
No,
counter
no,
to
no.
mine.
I know what we're referring to. Anyway, let us move on. You have a news check you want to drop?
Ah, oh, so many. Speaking of controversial, unforgivable people,
Damn it, anyway.
I wanted to get your take on this. So, Thy Art Is Murder is in the news. They are the Australian
Yeah.
deathcore death metal band. Their front person, former front person, had very controversial, unacceptable views. And he's been sketchy and demonstrably counter culture in a bad way for a long time. Transphobic and homophobic, most recently transphobic comments. I think we talked about it a few weeks back. And they had a new album coming out. I'm just not jumping on. I'm not virtue signaling. I'm just being transparent. We,
Anybody who says virtue signaling is an asshole. Don't
I
say that.
guess so. I'm just trying to say before people gang up on me. We chose as an organization, we were not going to cover this release. I was going to do an interview with the band. I canceled the interview and did not reschedule with no word, no
Simply put,
explanation.
I know that there's a lot of serious nastiness being thrown around against him,
Well,
and
well, he deserved it because he's
I
also, this
don't.
is a pattern. This is not one time.
Right. I don't want
And
to
then
go
he
too
backed it up.
deeply.
And I'm going to say the band, then weekly, without apologizing or commenting, they just put up a trans flag. We're with you. Not enough. Not enough. Well, they heard that too. And what did they do? This is remarkable to me. They fired the vocalist, took 1 week to delay their record, pulled all the physicals from going out, did not go out, fired him, went into the studio with a new vocalist who they announced today, and re recorded that guy's parts, kicked him out of the band, kicked him off the record, and then put the record out digitally with a Instagram explanation. And now they announced their new vocalist, and eventually there'll be vinyls, and but they like literally cost themselves money and probably fans to do this. And I
No,
just,
they did. I saw a lot
it's
of
unusual that a
talk.
band would do such a thing.
I
And the
saw a lot
late,
of talk about it. I was following comments, and one of the things I have learned when I read comments is I learn how terrible a lot of humanity is. And one of the things I saw was this is metal. Metal is supposed to be offensive. No, metal is not. There are segments of metal that are supposed to be offensive, but there's a difference between punching down and punching up. If you say America sucks, if you say Christianity sucks, you are punching up. You are fighting a bully. If you are attacking trans people, if you are attacking women, if you are attacking Black people, if you are attacking Native Americans or Indigenous, I'm sorry, I don't always know the right nomenclature. I am nearing 50 and I apologize. But think about this. There was a great thing I saw about casual misogyny. And to be clear, I am an ally. I have put my money where my mouth is by donating to women's groups. I have put my time where my mouth is by volunteering with women's groups for sexual assault. As I said last week, my wife has been she has fought for women and women victims for years. And just think to yourself, if you said, excuse me, if you said whatever joke, but instead of saying trans or lady or female if you're a fucking incel, and you said black person, is it acceptable? And if the answer is no, somebody would call me out on it. Maybe not everybody. Then you're in the wrong. And it's just that simple. Metal is not about being a bully. Metal has always been about taking down the bullies. We are the minority music fans. And I don't mean to, I'm going to quote Ted Lasso. I'm not comparing being gay to being a Denver Broncos fan in Kansas City. I'm sorry, I finally finished it. But that is the kind of thing that we need to look at is, yes, we are the vocal minority. We are the loud ruffians, but it's us against the world. It's not us against the few, because we are the few. So we need to be accepting of everyone in this world that wants to come to us. Don't gatekeep. I joke with my kid, like literally, because she likes Pink Floyd now. So I said, name 3 Pink Floyds. So the joke is, and we there's a punchline to that now. So she goes, oh, fine, Dad. The Pink Floyd sound, the tea set, the screaming abdabs.
Wow.
Okay, again, and just for the record, she tells me I need to talk about her on every podcast now. So
all right.
I bought her a copy of Morrison Hotel today as a thank you for all of her hard work.
Interesting.
But that's my opinion on Thy Art Is Murder.
Like I said, you have to admit that it's a stunning turn of events that they actually fired him, that they actually
I'm going to give them major props
in real time, that the label and the management of the band was behind this. This is a major release for the year. This is a major release for the genre, a major release for that band. They definitely cost themselves money, time, earnings, and that guy will go on and probably continue in music in a new band or whatever. He's,
okay,
whatever. But
I'm going to quote, I'm going to reference the late Dave Brockie on this. When he insulted Tim Lambesis when Tim Lambesis went to prison for not actually killing his ex-wife. Tim Lambesis, the lead singer of a Christian metalcore band, plots to murder his wife. Thankfully, thank God, Satan, Buddha, Shiva, whom I did not betray. I did not betray Shiva. Do not take my heart. Come on, nobody? Come on, no time for love, Dr. Jones.
I know.
Okay. And he's back on tour. Christian metalcore, back on tour.
I think how Christian he always was overrated and overstated.
It doesn't matter how Christian he was. That was that.
So there's a flip side of this. I think, yes, I think he's allowed to rejoin society and get his career back. I think
he is allowed to rejoin society, but that does not mean we should be supporting him in an artistic endeavor. He should be breaking fucking rocks.
Well, he did already. He went to prison for many years, so he did serve his time. And I, as also
3.5.
The crime was plotting, and then the worst part of the crime was it was going to happen in front of his kids. By the way, they might have been victims. By the way, accidental victims. So that's
RICO statute has him. RICO statutes have him as equally culpable as the trigger man.
Okay.
Anyway, let's move on.
I was trying to move on. If you allow me, I have one other news item. I just want to say that I went to go see. I got a free. People are still celebrating me and my recent birthday. It's now a few weeks ago, and 10 days ago. And I came home from my trip, and a friend of mine had a free ticket for me to Rob Zombie, Alice Cooper. Speaking of dumbasses, Alice Cooper, Rob Zombie, Alice Cooper, Ministry, and Filter at the Concord Pavilion in Concord, California, not far from me. Dope VIP seating, not like a VIP meet the band, but like, where they will bring you the food and beer right to your seat. I had a dead center seat, maybe about 200 feet, 2 football fields or less away from the stage. It was a visually incredible show. Filter was great. Brief opening set, new songs, old songs. Ministry, amazing, played their new song. I was a little disappointed that Jello Biafra didn't come out because he's on the new song and he lives in the area, literally in the area of the place.
Yeah, he busy.
He might be busy.
He's
Or
probably
not.
not busy.
And then Cooper said very little to the crowd until the introduction to the band at the end. Three guitar
That's standard.
players.
Standard.
Hurricane Nita
Mm.
played a marvelous set, mostly hits. A couple of
She is
like
better
nuance.
than, but I'd rather see Orianthe again.
Eh,
I love Orianthe.
I
I have a special love for
I
Orianthe.
feel like Orianthe anyway needed to kind of go be a solo artist and try to
I
sing.
I agree. Well, she had a solo career at the same time.
More prominent now.
Well, yeah,
And
definitely.
I think at a certain point she's just not going to be a hired gun forever. She might be
Oh yeah.
able to do more.
I
With
think
her.
I always saw her kind of like John Five.
Fair enough. Cooper, who actually uses the people and the talent in his band to make stuff. And a little part of me was like, well, again, this dumb boomer who will be not alive in 10 or 15 years versus a young guy who's saying like, just horrible, wishing violence on people is a whole different kit and caboodle. And then Zombie, and I
We're
just
on two different wavelengths
wanted to
here.
talk about
That's fine.
I wanted to talk about Rob Zombie. This is multiple times I've seen Rob Zombie with Cooper, and the show was a visual smorgasbord of effects and things, and it was incredible. I get the feeling that Rob Zombie just has these props around his house: a giant robot, a giant devil. You know, um, this not good. Rob Zombie's show is very mid. Like he doesn't really have this. I know he's got a 25-year long solo career now, but it's like the last four songs of the set are two White Zombie songs. The absolute two guesses you would make are the right ones.
Yeah, I know.
Never a
I
deep
can.
cut, barely.
Do you want to know why they're at the end?
Well,
I can tell you
to
why.
make you wait for them, so you won't
Because
leave.
when I saw him, the last time I saw Rob Zombie, we waited until they played Thunder Kiss 65
Mm.
and John 5 and play that riff like a some bitch. It's also on his It's Alive live record in the medley.
I saw it.
And I remember listening to that, just being like, oh. In fact, I'm listening to that tomorrow.
I would say that at least I got the right tempo. There's been many a time where I think Rob rushes through the song like it should not be a thrash metal tempo song.
Yeah, but the
It's a
thing
groove.
is, when he played it halfway through the set, it emptied out.
I think people were leaving at the end of Cooper. Actually, Cooper had his own fans there, and people were
The
bailing.
reason why Rob Zombie's shows are mid is because Rob Zombie's music is mid.
Well, yeah, like Super Beast is not an upper echelon music, so it's fun, but it's not like people know it because it was a video and a single and a cartoon. His fans are loyal, like they're going off. Like I was like bored to tears until the Living Dead Girl, Dragula,
Yeah,
Thunder Kiss,
I
and
know,
More
I
Human
know.
Than Human, and I would have killed to hear a Blood
Oh,
Milk and
you didn't
Sky.
get Black Sunshine?
Did not get Black. He never plays Black Sunshine, almost never.
Way better than More Human Than
Blood
Human.
Milk and Sky, I think he did a couple times not too long ago. I know he would sometimes do Supercharger Heaven.
I have
That's it.
tried really hard, like super hard, to love the Rob Zombie solo work.
No.
It's
Can't
it's
do it.
impossible. I've seen him live
Yeah,
now.
I've even seen him do
twice.
Boogeyman, which like really annoyed me. I was like, of all the things, there was a show that I saw him actually have laryngitis, and he wanted the crowd to sing, so they literally did a whole set of covers and the hits, and the crowd sang, and by the end of the show, he sang his way into shape. But even that was irritating to me. I was like, I do not want to hear "I'm Your Boogeyman" at a concert anymore. Like,
I've seen him. I've seen him twice, and each time, the best part of the show was Thunder Kiss 65. And I don't even like fucking Mustangs. But you know what I love?
Gripping the wheels, his knuckles went white with desire. I would kill to hear that song, dude.
No, that's Black Sunshine.
I know I'm talking
Okay.
about Black Sunshine.
But I mean that
want to hear
it's
it's
White Zombie
it's a
is
great riff.
White Zombie at their best, only for one record, was horror movie Pantera.
I would say
And-
horror movie Slayer because that was the main influence.
Way more groove. Way more groove.
I don't know. It's like very South of Heaven, Seasons in the Abyss Slayer, very mid-tempo Slayer.
But
That's what I'm talking
Seasons
about.
of the Abyss Slayer is weird Slayer. It's not proper Slayer.
I love it.
I love
you're
it.
allowed to be wrong.
No, it's not wrong. Proper Slayer is Rain and Blood and everything before it, and all the bullshit after Paul Bostoff left the band. The 90s to me was Slayer's best era, but we'll do a Slayer run in the 90s.
I don't know. Uh,
No, I do know.
you got more faith than me.
I will fight you.
You will have to. We'll have to do the whole Slayer run. I don't
No,
know.
no.
All of them.
All
Anyway,
right.
that's my news. Not a lot of news, but that's my news.
All right. My shirt check this week is my first Letterkenny. I think this is a bootleg shirt. I think my wife has only purchased me like cottage industry Letterkenny shirts. So it says who, using me, what, drinking puppers, where, produce stand, when, the other day.
Lost on me completely. I have
You
seen
never
the
watched
reference. I
Letterkenny?
have seen the reference to the puppers. I have not watched Letterkenny. I have not watched Ted Lasso. I have not watched these shows. I am
Get
watching
this guy a
Ahsoka.
fucking puppers.
And speaking of Ahsoka, my shirt check is a Star Wars shirt. And
I'm a couple of Sokas down.
yeah, I'm behind the most recent one. So
I'm like
we're all
two.
caught up, we'll reflect on the series.
Yeah. Give me. Are we ready to move on to the meat
I'm
of the
I'm
day?
pretty ready to move on to the
All
meat of
right.
the day.
Okay, that's great.
Do you need a pause?
Do you want to stare at my butt while I go to the fridge behind me, and you can stare
Nah,
at
we'll
the?
just not
I mean,
stare
I
at your
can
butt.
I can scoot down.
You really can't. I'll pause.
Oh wait, we're going again?
We're going.
Oh, I didn't mean to have this out,
Uh,
but yes, I do have this record on vinyl. I was thankfully lucky enough to purchase it after I sold one of my favorite video games, Lunar 2 Eternal Blue Complete for the PlayStation 2, regular PlayStation, PS1. I collected video games for a really long time. And the kind of stuff I liked for video games, a lot like with records, became very expensive later. So, yes, of course, we set this up, and I just wanted to show off literally the most valuable and most expensive record I have ever purchased. That was $150, and I sold Lunar 2 for 130. So it really only cost me 20. But there, and we will get to that record. Let's set the table. So we are heading all the way back to the Commonwealth of Virginia, which is an interesting place if you've never been there. I've been there a few times now. People are nice. They talk funny. Sometimes they vote the right way. Sometimes they don't. But it's an interesting place. It's a fun place. It also houses the state of Virginia. Also houses, of course, Washington D.C., which has the best lobster rolls I've ever had in my life because I have not been to Maine yet. And another great thing you can get there, of course, is soft shelled crab. Smeggin-licious. And I've never said Smeggin, and I apologize for that. I'm not Red Dwarf. So anyway, let's go back to 1984. 1984 is a very interesting year. That is when Walter Mondale loses the, I believe, biggest electoral landslide in the history of America. 49 states to one. Looking at you, Minnesota, who looked at Walter Mondale and Geraldine Ferraro, the pioneer, and said, yeah, we do need to raise taxes on everyone. Well, you know what? You were right. Maybe we wouldn't have a $35 trillion national debt now, but here we are. Deficit spending still counts. We're going to go look at a man named Dave Brocky. He goes to school at the University of Virginia. He has friends there. He starts a punk band called Death Piggy. I had only been familiar with Death Piggy since 2021. We were in Edwardsville, Illinois, and I went to a record store while the wife and kid were shopping for a swimsuit because I am white as fuck and do not want to be in the sun. And having me go swimming is especially on a beach is basically torture. And I went, ooh, record store. And I saw Death Piggy.
I'm just
Welcome.
imagining you, to interject and say, I'm just imagining you wearing like a Boardwalk Empire button up all the way to your neck, male swim outfit with a stripy, seersucker stripy, and a corncob hat or something.
Called a straw hat.
A straw.
Can I tell you a story since you're bringing up me at swimsuits? I'm in Mexico in 2013, wife and I went there. I'm sorry, is it 13? No, 14, 2014. No, it was 13, 2013. My wife and I go to Mexico from time to time. We're going next year for our 15th anniversary, actually.
Hmm.
And she convinces me to take part in this soccer ball kicking thing because I like soccer. So I walk up, and this gorgeous, gorgeous woman. I mean, absolutely drop dead gorgeous, probably like 22. Gorgeous, bronze skin, curly black hair, working for the resort. She looks at me and she goes, "Is this your first day in Mexico?" I'm like, "No, no, no. It's my last day in Mexico." She goes, "Huh. How are you so white?" What I should have said was, "It's not easy because the sun in Mexico is hot." I have been called translucent. I have been called paper. I have been called. I'm exceedingly, exceedingly Caucasian.
We're gonna start a new hashtag on Twitter. Nick so white. Nick Cameron so white. Blank.
I am. If you dyed my hair, white, I'd basically be albino at this point, except for the fact the external damage I did seeing Black Sabbath at Ozfest and Rob Zombie at Ozfest, where I permanently stained my skin. Where the hell was I? Okay, anyway, Dave Brockie. Dave Brockie starts a crossover thrash band, for lack of a better term, called Death Piggy. They are between a bit thrashier than DRI at this time, and way more punk rock than Metallica was at this time. Although Metallica at this point in time was Ride the Lightning, moving on to the progressive era. So, but much, much punkier than, say, Slayer, Exodus, Anthrax. Interesting band, a really cool band. And the concept of Dave Brockie as a human being, as an artist, is completely fully formed on Death Piggy. So he ends up at a dairy farm, abandoned dairy farm, which now is like or abandoned milk factory. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Let's call it abandoned milk factory, which is now my favorite phrase in the English language. And I want to start a band called Abandoned Milk Factory. And this place is owned by, of course, hippies, because it's the 80s and hippies are now no longer hippies and they own shit. So the hippies are willing to rent out rehearsal space to people. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Our intrepid young man, Dave Brockie, who is still in his 20s at this point, meets a man named, if memory serves, Hunter Jackson. Hunter Jackson later Techno Destructo, which is the greatest member of the GWAR. I will fight everyone forever, and I will fight with the Destructos, against the Destructos, and I will go past Uranus to prove it. God damn it, Keefy, turn off mute so people hear you laugh.
No, I mean, like, I'm cracking up over here.
I know, I need it.
All right.
It's. Do you watch? It's like a laugh track. I
guess.
People know it's funny if you laugh.
That's fine. You're not.
Anyway,
wrong.
so our good buddy Hunter Jackson is starting a movie production company, and he names it Slave Pit. And the science fiction movie he wants to create is Scumdogs of the Universe, which which we will discuss more in depth in 7 days. So Death Piggy decides, dude, this guy makes cool shit. We should have him make us stuff as props for our show. Because you know what? GWAR, like a lot of 80s bands, and I don't care who you are, every 80s band loves Kiss. Every 80s metal band. They all wore makeup. They all wore ridiculous. I mean, Kerry King, look at you. Every Kerry King, every version of Kerry King. I mean, you're going to tell me that dude didn't love Gene Simmons?
Guy Liner counts.
Guy Liner. braided beard, stupid ass chain, spikes. I'm sorry, his chain was stupid. He has like an anchor, a chain for an anchor, just like around his waist.
Tonight, playing the role of Carrie King due to illness will be Carrie King.
I don't get it. Anyway, so Dave Brocky now has a genius idea. What if at Death Piggy shows we dress up in crazy costumes and have a good old time playing different songs, opening for ourselves? The band was named GWAR, which I believe is the sound you make when something is lopped off of your body. Most likely your head or your joy department. Your joy department becomes a joy division as it's divided from you.
Well done, sir. Well done.
That is some word play. That is $5 word play.
That is some wordy verbosity. I want to jump in and
go ahead
and say that I'm glad you mentioned Hunter, because he is an integral. There's no GWAR without him.
Correct.
And you can make a case, and he made a case for a long time, that his ideas were co-opted into GWAR against his will. And then he was like, well, I can't beat him. I'm going to join him and be part of the band. But there's a lot of evidence, if you saw the This Is GWAR documentary, equal parts hilarious and heartbreaking, that they kind of stole they stole a lot of stuff from him. A lot of this stuff, Scumdogs in Universe, the idea that they were mutants, the costumes, the names even, all of this kind of sprung from Hunter and not Dave. Dave later on liked to rewrite history and take much of the credit. Now Hunter, who is difficult to work with and unlikable as a person pretty much, quit and came back several times. And I think when he quit the first time, he didn't come back as an owner and a collaborator. He came back as an employee, and he has resented that ever since.
He did not. Which I can understand. I mean, we've seen that 100 million times.
He did not go to Dave's funeral. He was the only member of GWAR, past, present, or future, not at the funeral. The only member of the Slave Pit. Slave Pit Inc. was stolen from him. All these things were taken from him. And for a long time, he was bitter and cut off from the band. When he quit the second or third time, I can't keep track, he didn't talk to them for almost like 17, 18 years. And then they invited him back at a very high-paying salary to just come out and be Techno Destructo and help make costumes and men costumes and things. And they brought him back in the post Dave years. But when Dave was alive, you would never work with Dave again.
Yeah, if memory serves, and I could be very wrong, he is on the Scumdogs 30th anniversary live record.
He is
playing Techno song, which he actually didn't even sing on the record.
No.
Either way, that song is still...
It's an important part of the story. I do a lot of my knowledge of GWAR, besides being starting as a casual fan and becoming a bigger fan later, to be honest. A lot of my knowledge came from that documentary. A lot of things I did not know about the history of the band are in that doc. It's a hard watch.
Honestly, still fairly casual. Okay. I've only got 4 or 5 of their albums.
Oh, wow, I mean, I feel that's more than casual. You purchased out your biggest vinyl purchase ever is a GWAR record. I think that says everything.
Well, I mean, okay, we might as well segue into it.
Maybe a passive fan is what you're. I think you might have been a passive fan until you made that purchase. Now you're a fan. You've given them your money. You bought their stuff and their merch.
Well, I didn't give them my money.
You gave someone else the money they paid for. Someone else paid for it, but you.
Anyway, my personal journey with GWAR begins as a sophomore in high school. My good friend Strongheart, and for the record, Strongheart was not his nickname. His birth certificate, his driver's license, his mama named him Strongheart. He said, and I quote, "My parents were hippies."
I am McLovin.
Yeah, I'd rather be McLovin. That's funnier. So Strongheart, or as we called him, Hardy, that was his nickname was Hardy. Gave me I asked him to dub for me. Back in the 90s, we recorded shit on cassette tapes. I asked him to record for me Nirvana Nevermind because I didn't have it. and I couldn't afford it. Back in the 90s, my allowance was $5, and a CD was 17, and I lived in the middle of nowhere, so it's not like I even had access to go purchase them if I could. So he recorded Nirvana Nevermind for me. And after Nevermind ended, I heard GWAR, which was him actually on it, recording it. And I know at least Techno Destructo, I think, was there. And I know I'm in love with a dog named Pookie was there. And the one time I saw GWAR, that was the one song from Hello they played. They did play I'm in Love with a Dead Dog. And that is
I will.
still.
I'm gonna chime in and say that my favorite GWAR song ever is still "Sick of You," but the close second, is Gorgor, and I think Gorgor is the best character ever in GWAR beside Odorous. That's me.
That's fine. And I didn't spend as much money as I did on that record because of GWAR. I spent as much money on that record as I did because it linked me to a time. It linked me to a special moment. The same reason why I spent $40, which my wife was upset about, on Faith No More's Introduce Yourself. Because, like, I can't believe you spent $40 on this. I can't believe you don't love We Care a Lot. But that's my marriage, and that's private.
I listened to it today. That's how much I love Faith No More.
I listened to The Real Thing a couple of weeks, like last day I worked at home last week. So, but that is the whole thing. This whole serendipitous wackiness. Basically, these very like-minded people found themselves in Virginia, which is still this really sounds like, East Village kind of stuff in what the hell city is that? Is that it's got the Brooklyn?
New York.
Oh, I've heard of that place. They got a couple people. It's not as big as St. Louis from what I hear. We have 79 neighborhoods. They only got 5.
Sure, buddy. Whatever you say.
I say a lot of things. Uh, you know, again, it's a serendipitous kind of movement because yes, I'm gonna refer back to a very smart man who said all the 80s bands loved Kiss, but not all the 80s bands loved Kiss enough to go 3 steps further than good taste would have allowed. These people are basically, these men and women from time to time are essentially at the beginning on stage in thongs and masks, spraying blood and pretend semen. And as time goes on and they get more money and they get more famous, the costumes get bigger and crazier and they spit more things and different things. And when I saw them on Sounds of the Underground, I think there were 4. Again, they only played 30 minutes, I should mention. Everybody on that tour played 30 minutes, which was hysterical seeing Opeth with a 30-minute set. Because it was, I think, 2 songs, like literally 2 songs. It was like seeing Clouds Taste Satanic for 30 minutes. It's just, why would you? But I did. And I think they had green and red and white. I mean, just all kinds of ook coming out of everything. They had giant like cannons that shot ook that they were so big on their stage they had to sit in. I mean, it was just ridiculous. And that was a quick setup show. I've never actually seen a full-on GWAR proper show, and I kind of regret that. Maybe I'll see them with Blothaar, who should mention that Blothaar was an original member, ish, as
He's
Ballsack.
long running. I don't think original, but yeah.
Original enough. Classic. We'll go classic.
That might be fair, but he
Right,
was
we'll
in
classic.
a different guise.
Yeah, man. I mean, you know what? It is what it is.
We'll get to Bishop. We'll get to him. We'll talk about everybody. I think. That is a great setup. I don't know much more we can have. I will say again, I have been a casual GWAR fan. I liked Love Sick of You. I liked Ragnarok, Beavis and Butthead. Put them on the map a little bit, just like White Zombie. And then I played in a band with a couple of guys, and one of those guys, his best friend, was a humongous GWAR stan. They were probably his second or third favorite band ever. And we started watching This Toilet Earth and all the home videos and all these things, which This Toilet Earth won a Grammy for best long form video from a band. It kind of put them on public notice.
This
And
Toilet Earth has one of my favorite GWAR tunes, Sadama Go Go.
the song that Beavis and Butthead watched.
And it's almost a ska tune.
It has horns. It's definitely got like a thrash metal ska rhythm.
Yeah,
It's very peculiar.
and I should mention before because we're getting close to just trudging on into their first record, and I'm gonna lean on you because I did do this record actually twice with Duncan.
This
the
is your
first time I
series.
lost the recording.
Okay.
I did. I lost the way through it again.
You picked the series. You're supposed to lead the discussion.
I'll lead it, but I'm leaning.
Yeah.
I'll lead and lean.
That's fine.
I'm on beer number 2 of 10% beer.
I guess.
That's like 17 beers.
Let's go into the track by track.
Hey, I'm not done.
Oh gosh. Okay.
I forgot what I was going to... You know what? I'm done now because I don't remember what I was going to say. Oh, actually, no. One thing I do want to say is I want to give a big shout out to my old friend Tom Ward, whom I have mentioned a few times on this show. And if I could be a little serious about Tom for a moment, I lost contact with him when we got closer to high school, actually in high school. And I for the love of God, I hope he turned out okay. We met in elementary school, late elementary, and we shared a lot of music together and a lot of good times together. And I worry about where he went. And he also really loved GWAR, and he loved Slayer, and he loved Eazy-E and NWA and all kinds of cool shit that we've talked about on this podcast over the years. And yeah, another band he loved. And if you're out there, buddy, I hope you can hear me.
You want to hear a funny coincidence? The person who made me a huge GWAR fan is named Chris Ward from the Bronx. And shout out to Chris, and shout out to my former...
Wait, MC Chris?
No.
Chris Ward that lives in South City, St. Louis?
No. Chris Ward from the Bronx, New York. You interrupted me. And my former drummer in my band, Grunt.
Oh, wait, MC Chris lived in Brooklyn.
His
name is Chris.
Brooklyn. I lived in Brooklyn. I'm not from Boston. I lived in
I know. I forgot. I forgot it wasn't the Bronx.
Yeah.
MC Chris's real name is Chris Ward.
Is it? That's crazy.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't know. Okay, I thought you knew that.
I did not know that.
Oh.
I just know my backpacks got jets.
You know what would have been way funnier if you had known that. That's my fault. My bad. One of the things it is about being me is I assume everybody in the world knows what I know because I assume everything I know is pedestrian. But apparently everything I know is mostly niche.
That is
moving on.
Legitimate.
Shall we discuss the record?
Let's.
All right. This record is, I assume they're establishing the mythology, and quite frankly, I don't really know the GWAR mythology all that well. What I do know is they write bangers, and I'm happy for that. So track 1, Time for Death. And if you are 15-year-old Nick in 1991 in chemistry, 6th period chemistry, and your buddy hands you this record, you're into Metallica finally. You're really digging in. This is when you are getting into the more extreme metal. Maybe you don't notice that this song is a joke. Which I didn't. But it's still a great track.
I think what's interesting, like, they're so smart and funny and satirical that you don't understand sometimes that they're joking. Like, you really, but you like, if you didn't know what they look like and you just heard these songs, you know it would be a comedy album. But when you see them and you also understand about the lore, then you're like, your mind is blown. You're like, oh my God, this is so many layered.
Again, I heard them for the first time at the end of a Nirvana dub tape. No, I mean, it was I'm in love with a dead dog, but still. AEIOU.
Not my
Genius.
favorite. I mean, it's
Really?
funny, but it's not my favorite.
Oh, God, my
There's some
whole
clunkers on here. I don't think this is a flawless album as you might think so. I think it's a great debut, but I think like it's not their best work through and through. That's just me. Spoiler
all
alert.
right. Spoiler. Am I coming out through your speakers?
No, I hear you just fine.
Okay, because I thought I heard an echo.
You
Maybe
might.
I'm just that important. Still my favorite GWAR record. Still my favorite. Moving on to Americanized. Love it, love it, love it. And the more you get involved in the lore, the more you understand that they are singing as characters. The idea of space mutants becoming Reaganite Americans is hysterical. I think that is a slight at hippies.
A lot of it, yeah. The Americanized is arguably one of the top three songs on this whole album. It is brilliant.
You know what? It might legitimately the best
It's a
song.
brilliant song. It's heavy. It's funny. It's smart as a whip.
There you go. These are college. These are educated kids. I guess they're not kids at this point. But moving on to my favorite track, my introduction. So the introduction I had to GWAR is a song about Odorous Arungus falling in love with a poodle, sleeping with the poodle, sharing a cheese ball with the poodle, and then murdering the poodle. I apparently am sick. Thoughts?
I agree. I will let it go, but this is another banger and
Mm.
a great song. Definitely, it's definitely not dying fetus, kill your mother, rape your dog. It's definitely done. It's
No,
pun.
no, no, no. The
It's
dog
punny and
presented.
clever,
The dog presented. It was
and they love animals. They're
it was
animal lovers.
consensual.
They're very much.
According to the mythology, it was consensual. Moving on to Slutman City. Interesting bit about this song. It is one of the longest tracks on the record and rather forgettable.
I
You know,
agree. This song is definitely an absolute nothing burger, and
it's not a nothing burger. It's got a great chorus. Slutman City. Dun, dun,
that's
dun,
fair.
dun, dun, and that's
But
all you
not
remember.
too much. There's not too much there.
World of Filth. I'm sorry if you can't make your song longer than a minute and 14 seconds. I just don't need to remember it.
Well, I think the shorter songs, some of them were an homage to punk, and some of them were an homage to a series we did already, which you already referenced earlier, not in the same glowing light, but Monty Python. I think they were heavily influenced by Monty Python.
Oh, completely
Discuss.
agree. There is some definite tongue in cheek. There is some definite so excuse me. Okay, I'm on beer number 2. I'm sorry. I'm drinking. Um it's when it's whatever day this is that you're listening to this.
Holy
And
shit, it's only Wednesday, but this will be dropped on Friday.
I'll drop it like it's farts. I don't know what that means. I'm sorry. It's I'll tell you what I told my boss today. I'm sorry if I have seemed blurred out for a while. You know, you go work 3 hours, 4 hours a day after working for 10 hours and see how you feel for the last 2 years. Anyway, embarrassments. Anyway,
Interestingly enough, if Slutman City had been a better song, maybe the Slutman character would have been a thing.
yeah, could be, but it wasn't. So it's a bad song. It's completely forgettable. And if you're going to introduce a character, the best thing you can do is be memorable. They missed that. World of Filth. Okay, that was minute 14. Don't care. Moving on to War Toy. Dig this one. And this is that the Odorous Arungus character really digging into whatever the hell he's dealing with.
A lot of early 80s Beltway bashing. Lot of,
Oh,
yeah.
should mention, I was going to say this when we brought up the 114. There is a lot of Death Piggy in this record. And in fact, the first GWAR was most of Death Piggy and other dudes. I mean, Death Piggy was only 3 people. So But moving on to Captain Crunch, I have absolutely no recollection of this song, and I have listened to this record for 30 years.
Yeah, it's mid. It's very mid.
Again, 30 years. I've listened. I have no idea. Pure is the Arctic Snow. Now we're having fun.
Solid. A solid song. It's not.
Is this the one with the penguins, or is it the next one? Because I feel like that's kind of like one song.
Yeah, it does feel like it's meant to be two back to back that belong together.
Yeah.
Je m'appelle Jay Cousteau.
Right. My son Pierre dove into the icy waters of the North Atlantic. searching. He found death, torn to pieces by rabid penguins. Just going to point out that there are no penguins at the North Pole.
There in Antarctica. Let's discuss also any mention of Jacques Cousteau. I have to mention epic rap battles in history. Jacques Cousteau versus.
Was he in a Speedo?
He was in the typical red cap, blue button down shirt.
I don't want to. I lost all interest.
The Croc Hunter. What's his face? Who passed away.
Really? I actually would. I would like to have seen a real thing between those two dudes. But I guess that's what the point. I guess that's the whole point of rap battles of history. So anyway, moving on to GWAR theme. Unfortunately, this song just didn't make it to their canon, and I'm going to discuss that in a minute. I'm going to try to move quickly a little bit because we're going slow here.
I think GWAR theme is very reminiscent of the theme from Kiss by Kiss. It's why like
no, it's better than that. The theme, Love Theme from Kiss was a good song, but this is a great song.
Okay.
Yeah, but you're right. Completely same deal. Moving on to Bone Meal. It's like one verse, one chorus. Fun verse, fun chorus, but that's all it is.
Right.
Ollie North. Anytime you're gonna take Ollie North and take the piss out of Ollie North, because the man committed literal treason for a literal sitting president. Period.
I agree.
Come at me. Moving on to the greatest song in the history of the recorded word throughout the multiverse, Techno Destructo.
No, technically Techno Song by Techno Destructo.
Look, I read the wrong. I will fight you.
I don't know that it's the best song on here,
Keefy,
but it's close.
Keefy, we are now in a fight to the death.
Well,
here's how this works.
In 5 weeks, so we can.
No, here are the rules. The first one to die loses. It is unsporting.
Shit.
It is unsporting to force the other one to die. So, good luck. I mean that. Techno Song is, and it's still, and it's probably because I heard it first. It was part of the original batch. Love this song. Love the puns. He made the first year. This is the first time I ever heard the pun Uranus. And again, we're talking 1988. Nobody's making science-y puns in 1988. Science-y is for nerd guys like me. And now he's talking about Uranus. Okay. Thank you. Nailed it. Moving on to You Ain't Shit. Again, short, punky, fun.
Where did they get this from? Because it's not a song by Bobby Digital, the RZA. It is hilarious. It's almost like a rap song. Like the thematically, it's like a rap song.
Hey, you ain't shit unless you learn how to rock.
Mm.
It's true. I mean, we all know that. Right?
Yes.
Probably. Anyone listening to this knows how to rock. So you are shit if you're listening to this.
I want to rock and roll all night, part of every day.
And then it was, I used to rock and roll all night and party every day. And then it became every other day. And now I'm lucky to get 15 to 20 minutes of rocking out a week.
Game face, bro. Game face. No. I want to rock and roll and party part of every day. No, party every day.
What's that from?
Role Models. Again.
Oh, I've never seen that.
We will see it when I see you.
All right. Rock and roll party town. What can you say?
Good closing track.
Great closing
Strong flourish at the end. Nicely done.
For me, there are some slow moments on this record. There are no clunkers. There's nothing awful. There's nothing that, makes me... There's nothing as bad as Escape. There's nothing as bad as yeah. So nothing sticks out. It all melds together. They created, I guess it's a concept record. I
Please,
mean, they're
please come and
establishing
play
the lore.
"Escape" at my funeral. For as much grief as you give that, you give
But I'm
that
not
song
going.
more grief than Turbo.
Dude,
Turbo Lover.
Metallica said recently that that song sucks and they
Yeah, I
hate it.
know. James said it. Yeah,
And they're right. James is all of Metallica. That's what I'm going with.
that's fair enough. Wrap it up, and I'll bring us home. I think
Alrighty.
we've
So what
blathered on
we
enough.
have
We do love
here,
this record. I don't think it's an A tier record. It's a good record though. It's a
it's
good
an S
debut.
tier record. I think I love crossover thrash more than you.
I don't think so. I really don't.
Huh.
My editor at Ghost Code calls me the Thrash King privately. Like I
I
don't
said
think so.
crossover thrash.
I love crossover thrash.
All right. But see, my favorite Metallica is crossover loosey ass Metallica,
Mm.
not machine precision. I love loose metal,
All right.
and loose metal is kind of a rare thing. So what we're looking at here is we have a band of fucking nut bars that are just spitting out nutty buddies and shitting out baby Ruths this for 38 minutes. And 38 minutes is probably about the right length for this record. There are 16 tracks in 38 minutes. So you do the math. It's fun. It's heavy. It's absurd. And you know what? In 1988, that is the perfect record that could have absolutely blown up. Unfortunately, the band we are discussing, GWAR, hated the producer, hated the production, hated so they hate this record and
They
they
don't like
have
it.
mostly disowned it. And I think that is exceedingly terrible. There is a lot of great work on this record. And sometimes you just need to go back and if you really hate something that much. And they never complain about the songs, they complain about the recording. If you hate the recording that much, go back, do it again.
Can't
And
really do it without Brocky though. That's the
well,
thing.
I'm not talking about like next week. I'm talking about like 15 years ago.
Mm.
They if they really
They
hated
could
if
have,
the recording was the issue
and it was
when they were
fad back then to do it too.
slagging it, what they should have done was do it again. I would have bought it. I'd have fucking bought the shit out of it. I bought White Zombie Los Exorcisto because I found a repress of it after I discovered that Rob Zombie had re-recorded Astro Creep live with John Five and Buddies. If they had re-recorded Los Exorcisto, I'd have bought that shit. I mean, I will buy your re-recorded bullshit.
I don't want that one done over.
I got a Los Exorcist. No, that album sucks. Astro Creep sucks
Oh
balls.
no. Yeah, I'm talking about Sexual System. I think Astro Creep's actually, in hindsight, a better record than you think. Maybe we'll do it.
Why do you hate me?
I don't. Although I wouldn't mind hearing Duncan say like with his accent, like "synthetic delusions of the electric head" would be fun to hear him say in his.
We're not doing that with Duncan because Duncan is not going to do that because that
guy.
album was a hit.
Poor bastard. You do so much horrible.
No, I'm saving him from your evil.
I guess you're evil. I'm not evil. I'm only half evil.
Just because I make him listen to some really, really terrible things.
Are we all done?
I'm done.
All right, then. You have been listening to the Glacially Musical podcast. I am hungover Keefy with in the bag Nick Cameron. You can find us on all the social medias at Glacially Musical, at Nick_no_C on the X and other places. Glacially Musical on Instagram. I am
Glacially_musical Instagram and Threads.
Yes, sir, Threads. Do you post on Threads? I
still a little, not much.
I think it's dead on arrival.
Waiting for Blue Sky to hit me.
No one will give me an invite at
Same.
Ghost Called Keefy at Ghost Called Mag. Turning 11 in a week and a half. Pretty impressive. And you've been listening to the Glacial Musical podcast. It does not play in Peoria, and GWAR probably didn't on their first tour to support. Hello.
Yay!
Got a thumbs up. All right, I'll take it.